Hello, it is Kamal Daniels, and it is the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 18. It is currently 7:12 a.m., and it is June the 30th. How was your week going? My week, as per usual, has gone good. You guys like the change in the tone, the change in the manner? You know, I was a little dull at the beginning. Now picking up the energy. Trying to shock you guys. Did it work? No? Yes? Huh? Anyways, let's get into the sports. The thing that you showed up here for, of course, you know. But seriously, hopefully you guys are having a good week. Hopefully you guys finish out the week strong. It's coming. I don't know what's coming, but something's coming. Something's good's coming, or something bad's coming. You have to have something good to have something bad, just to let you know. But let's get into the NBA. And what I've observed from this NBA playoffs, and what you've probably observed from this NBA playoffs, is that this is by far the most unpredictable playoffs I've seen ever. 2000, when the 2019, when the Raptors won it, maybe a little bit more unpredictable with the Kawhi, but that's more in-game stuff. And then the Raptors coming back from 0-2 down. Sort of, yes, but those weren't too much of shocks. Golden State beating Portland like they did. And I'd say shocks. There's been a few upsets in my lifetime. Mavericks, Heat. That's one that comes to mind. Of course, the 3-1 down Cavs Warriors. But in totality, total unpredictability, this is probably the best. Not the best, but yes, the best example of unpredictability in the playoffs. 2020-2021 playoffs. See, I say this because of what happened last night, of course, with the Hawks being up 10 with Giannis in the game. Now, we'll get into Giannis a little later. But no one would have predicted what went down last night. I'll just say this. Cam Reddish doesn't play. Cam Reddish doesn't get a lick of time, an ounce of time, when in important situations. And he played last night. Bogdanović hadn't had a good series. This whole series. And balls out. So you don't know. If these two teams play each other without their superstars, I think the Bucks win the series. But if Trey comes back, and I think he will come back, I have to choose the Hawks. And Giannis isn't coming back. If he comes back, I will lose a lot of respect for the Bucks organization, Bucks franchise, because Giannis should not be playing. You know, I don't know necessarily the medical terminology for this, but it looked like he hyperextended his knee. I mean, it bent backwards. Your knee's not supposed to bend that way. He already had a calf issue. Giannis is done. He showed extreme toughness walking to the locker room after he got injured. I have to give Giannis some plaudits for that, but he's done for the series. We'll see how he is with the series is over. But no more Giannis Antetokounmpo for the rest of the 2020-2021 Eastern Conference Finals. See, let's get into the other variable in the equation of the unpredictability of the playoffs. You guys like the unpredictabilities that I rolled right off the tongue. This is another variable. This is the y. This is the ax plus b equals c squared. This is the c squared of it. Another variable to why this is unpredictable. Because I know I'm not of the mindset of... I know I wasn't the only one who thought the series was over when it went back to Phoenix. I thought it was over. And then I get a notification on my phone saying Zubac is injured. How does Ayton have the worst game of the playoffs when Zubac is injured? You would think you would have that... I don't know when they play. They played on Monday. Then they played on Saturday, right? Game 5. You would think he would play like that Game 5 with Zubac playing well, or Game 3, 4, 2. But he had his worst game of the series, Game 5. Doesn't make any sense. Chris Paul, the Suns, Booker. Booker played decently well. I'll give you that. I think he dropped 30 plus, 30 points, somewhere around that. How does the rest of the Suns come out lackadaisical? Just they didn't look like they wanted to play at all. It didn't make, again, any sense. Unpredictability. I do not know what I'm going to get out the Suns tonight. You would think they would come out inspired, ready to go. But are the Suns going to get another performance like that out of D-Book when Patrick Beverley's playing defense on him? That must have been such a sour relief for D-Book on Game 5. In Game 5. Again, if Trae Young comes back for the Hawks, I believe the Hawks will win. But the Bucks and the Suns are just not used to being in this position of closing out a series and going to the finals. The Suns, of course, you see why they wouldn't have familiarity with this situation. They haven't been to the playoffs in X years. Bucks, only time they made the Eastern Conference Finals was when they played the Raptors up 2-0. So they're sort of new to this and being the favorite, I guess, you know? I compare it to the first week of middle school. Well, at least my first week in middle school, because I was shell-shocked. You don't know where your classes are. Your teachers don't know your name until like, I don't know, week 6. But soon you get accustomed to, okay, this one I have hope. This is when I have algebra. This is when I have... I wasn't taking algebra. I took algebra in 7th grade. This is when I take math 101. Pre-algebra. This is when I take pre-algebra. This is when I take English. You know, you get accustomed to it, then you say, okay, this is middle school. Middle school is way more traumatizing than high school. First week of school. Trust me. For me. But closing out a series is just not something these teams are accustomed to. And as I said earlier, if the Hawks get Trae Young back, I got the Hawks. But if it doesn't, I expect the Bucks to win the series. But with the Suns and the Clippers, we will see what happens tonight. Right now, I withdraw my pick for who's going to win the series. Remember, last week I was cocky and pompous, saying Clips in 6. Well, now I'm saying I withdraw my pick. I will know who will win the series halftime of Game 6. Game 6 is tonight, Wednesday, July 30th, 2021. Give me some time. Give me halftime up to Game 6, and I will have a more crystallized opinion of the Western Conference Finals. But I have no clue. But it seems like throughout these games, it tells you who's going to win the game. It's not really a large... There's runs, but usually runs to expand the lead or to come back in the game. But the team who usually holds the lead for most of the game is usually going to win these Clippers games. And if the Clippers win tonight, I am very nervous for the Suns in Game 7. Very nervous. Very nervous for the Suns in Game 7. Extremely nervous. And does it seem a little... Does it seem like the Phoenix fans are a little too much? This is the hate coming out of me. But does it seem like they're a little too much? Like, I think I remember the exact moment when the NBA said, we can't have Phoenix win this. We cannot have Phoenix win this. They were showing the crowd, and the crowd just looked a little... not ugly. They looked very beautiful people in Phoenix. Even though I've seen a small sample size and I've never been to the place. Seemed very diverse. Somewhat. I'd have to look up the demographics. But I just feel like I remember an instant in the game where the NBA was like, we can't have this here. Oh, this is why we didn't let them win for X amount of years. We can't have a repeat of 93. Remember what happened in 93? I don't know what happened in 93. It wasn't around in 93. But I feel like we're starting to understand why. Like, it just looked a little... They showed the crowd a little bit. And then the NBA was like, oh, no, we need this in LA. That could be me just talking to myself too much. But I just remember it. Because the Phoenix Suns, at the beginning of the game, didn't look too... Again, head canon. Excuse the interruption. We will get you back to the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 10 with Kamal Dance as soon as possible. But for any viewer who is not familiar with the term headcanon, this is a common term used in the anime/manga community where a fan makes up a possibility based on what he or she sees in the anime or manga. But there is no literal proof of this happening in the series. Now, back to Kamal Dance with the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 10. Headcanon. But with Giannis being injured and, of course, all of the other injuries in the playoffs, you know, Luka got a little injury, dinged up. Trae's a little dinged up. Kawhi, Donovan Mitchell, of course, Jamal Murray got injured before this playoffs even started. These guys are tired. And this is why the playoffs is like the playoffs is. where it may seem like there's a little less dunks, unless outside of John Collins, where it may seem like teams aren't efficiently offensively, like Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, where the Clippers would have won the game. The Clippers would have won Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals in the third quarter of Game 5. That's how much of a slugfest that game was. So you have to give credit to where credit is due. Good stuff to the Clippers for staying as healthy and persevering. Good stuff to the Suns for staying probably the healthiest team in the NBA all season. The playoffs really aren't too much different than the regular season. It just really shows you who was, I don't want to say legit and then call the other guys not legit, but whose methods are the strongest. And the Suns' methods compared to every other teams seem to be the strongest. And the Hawks seem to be, their methods about the way they go about things on the offensive end and defensive end seem to be the strongest. And that's why I think they're doing so well in the playoffs. And I think that's what happened last year in the playoffs with the Heat. Strong culture. That's why they made the Eastern Conference Finals and the Finals. The Lakers. Strong culture core. Cores. And that's going to be the thing. Next year, it's going to be who has the strongest core. It's about who builds the best core, because I believe it's going to be another somewhat wide open playoffs next year. Yeah, LeBron will be there. Yeah, AD may be there. Healthy. Joker, Jamal Murray may be there. I don't know where Dame's going to be, but he's probably going to be there. Luka's going to be there. It's just going to be who has the strongest will and who has the strongest methods. I don't think these two playoffs, bubble and last year, the best teams will necessarily win, but who is the most mentally tough? And you have to give credit to the Bucks, Hawks, Clippers, and Suns. And that's why the Suns, again, I think the Suns, I don't know if they're going to win this championship, but I know the reason why they're in the Western Conference Finals. Easily. And this place is also showing us how great fans it is to have fans in the crowd. The Euros are showing that too. But it's also showing us the importance. Because this is something sort of how COVID took away from us talking to people face to face. This is showing us the importance. You know, we always took human connection, talking face to face. We always knew it was valuable, but we didn't really cherish it as much. Health in the NBA is something that's always talked about. Being healthy. Healthy is the best attribute to have. But it's sort of slang around. No one really means it. But now we're seeing health wins championships. And just being the healthiest team sometimes is all you need. It's all you need. And with that, on to the Euros. Euro 2020, Euro 2021, whatever you want to call it. First game I want to start out with is, of course, not the games of Tuesday, but the games of Monday. And the first game on Monday I want to talk about is France versus Switzerland. All right. Watching the game, it's 2-1. About 70x 6th, 7th, 8th, 5th, 4th, one of those minutes. And Paul Pogba Gets the ball at the top of the key. Strikes a nice curler from probably 20 plus yards out. It was between 20 and 27 yards. I may be discrediting him a little bit. But hits a nice curler, hits it softly, hits it soundly. That's what I meant, not softly. Hits it soundly. Great form. And we see why Paul Pogba is Paul Pogba and why he's one of my favorite players in the world. Because of things like that. And because of the performances he had against Switzerland. That's why we love Paul Pogba. But I was watching the game. It goes France 3-1 up. France going through to the next round. I'm watching the Kardashians. Well, not purposefully. Not purposefully or anything like that. I was just scrolling through the channels, of course. You know how it goes. Scroll through the channels. Kardashians pop up. But I checked the score just to check the score, see if France has scored again, see if the game's over. I don't know why I checked the score. Something in me, and I look up and it's 3-3. I'm watching the Kardashians, and the score is 3-3. One of the greatest comebacks of all time happened. And I missed it. Then it goes to penalties. I just want you guys to marinate on that, how I missed one of the greatest comebacks of all time. Because I was watching the Kardashians. I want you guys to think about that. Then penalties, and France are out. Kylian Mbappe misses. And what I have to say about France is they look like they've won a World Cup. They look like they've won a World Cup. One player on that team looked like he hadn't won a World Cup. That was Karim Benzema. He's never tasted success at the international level, and it looked like, and I saw that, yeah, he wanted it. Karim Benzema wanted it, and Karim Benzema's actually gotten better. This is probably the best Karim Benzema. These past 2 years, Karim, I truly think that's the best Karim Benzema we've ever seen. But the third best player in the world, the hardest worker in the world, that everyone says, N'Golo Kante. He looked like he had won a Champions League and a World Cup. He looked like he won both. Playing well, he's that good. But he relied on his talents a little bit. Again, third best player in the world. So he looked better than most. Right? The common saying is, talent loses to hard work every day. Or how I like to say it, hard work beats talent every day of the week. And I do not like upsets in any sports. I don't like it in football. I don't like it in real football. I don't like it in basketball. Don't like it in cricket. Don't like it in tennis. Don't like it in chess. Do not have any upsets in sports. Waste of time. Always been a waste of time for me. Yeah, you beat France, but Switzerland, are you going to beat Spain when you play them next? Who are you going to beat? But the other reason, I'm not going to totally blame it because I was bored of the game. I'm going to blame it on this game. The reason why I changed when it scored 3-1. Because my rationale in my mind, I said, no way is a team who's up 3-1 is going to blow a lead like Spain, Croatia. We're not going to get another repeat of that. And I was so disappointed in myself because, yes, maybe a 2-1, they could have came back, had their chances. Maybe. But no. I was not going to look and hope that maybe they come back. I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I blame Croatia and Spain. I don't blame myself at all. No blame. No accountability. You seeing what kind of person I am. Croatia and Spain. This was just an appetizer, believe it or not, for that game. Somehow, some way, Croatia came back. Spain was able to win 5-3, but like how? They scored 2 goals in 13 minutes in extra time. They couldn't even look at goal, think about goal against Sweden. Could barely look at it against Portland. I was saying Portland, Portugal. Poland, against Poland. Got my P's mixed up. Some teams in a lot of competitions don't score 2 goals in 3 games. And they scored 2 goals in 13 minutes in extra time. I mean, Spain's found their form. I'm just say this. Say that. Spain has found their form. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Morata played the whole game. Busquets basically played the whole game. And Pedri also was another player who played the whole game. And Pedri, he's going to be a top 3 player in the world. In 5, maybe 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 4 to 6 years. I'm calling it. Pedri's going to be a top 3 player, without injury, of course, in the world. I highly suggest next game when Spain play, you guys watch Pedri. Spectacular. He's going to be a top 10 midfielder, center midfielder, by the end of the 2022-2023 season. He's probably going to be one by the end of the 2021. He'll be one by the end of the 2021-2022 season. Right? Most people won't agree with me, but most people will come around by 2022-2023. Of course, he doesn't get any injuries. I know now he doesn't want to. There's some drawing with him with Olympic roster and that, whatever. But anyways. He can't speak English, so I'm not jinxing him. Jinxes only work if the other person can understand what you're saying. Well, if he does speak English, I don't believe in jinxes. So, yeah. If anything, this will give him confidence if he listens to the podcast. Now, with those 2 phenomenal games, let's get into the game of the day yesterday. Ukraine, Sweden. No, but congrats to Ukraine. Congrats to Ukraine. Honestly, it was the better game of the 2 yesterday. We don't have to discuss that. England versus Germany. And you gotta respect it, right? You gotta respect it. Both teams were trying to win. They're trying to win. But they were just playing not to lose, if that makes sense. They were trying. That was their method of winning. Just don't give away the game. And that's more England than Germany. That's England's identity. That's how England's going to play against Ukraine. They're not going to beat Ukraine 4-5-0. They're going to beat Ukraine max 3-0. That's max that Spain that England is going to beat Ukraine. Trust me on that one. With Germany, they don't really have an identity. Now, whose fault is that? No one really. New team, new generation of players, coach, looks like he's won a World Cup. I'm gonna keep on saying that. That's sort of a good one. New generation of players. Mueller, Lahm isn't there. Boateng. I was watching the game the other day with Germany, and I remember this team. Germany somewhat had a varying talented Germany had a varying roster in the 2010 World Cup and in the 2014 World Cup and 2012 Euros and 2016 Euros. But there were guys who were just consistent. And I'm going to forget a few, but these were the guys who just played no matter what. Kroos, Schweinsteiger, Boateng, Lahm, Müller, Neuer, and Khedira was really one of them. He didn't play some of the games for the World Cup, start for some of the games for the World Cup. And Hummels was sort of, yeah, he was in that category, but Hummels wasn't the guy like that in 2010. But the guys, the real day ones in that little group were those 7 guys I listed originally. I'm adding Khedira. Khedira, Neuer, Boateng, Müller, Kroos, Lahm, Schweinsteiger. And that may have been different. This isn't a script. I'm on a tangent right now. But, and Germany didn't have that. They literally had a different lineup every single game. England had that, but they had the core. Phillips, Rice, Maguire, even though, Maguire didn't play the first 2 games, but Phillips, Rice, Sterling, Kane, and even though Trippier and Kyle Walker were in and out the squad, they were the consistent guys. Kyle Walker, Trippier, Pickford. They had those guys. Germany, aside of Kroos and Havertz and Rudiger and Hummels, Neuer too, but really just they didn't have an identity. And they tried to play like England, and when you try to play someone else's game, yeah, it can work out for you sometimes, but that's England's game. And that's why England won the game. Game. Germany were successful when they said, okay, we're going to allow goals, we're going to put Sané at right wing back, but we're going to be threatening on the attack. That's when they won. Against Portugal when they came back from being down 1-0, 1-4-2. Hungry, even though they didn't win the game, and it was sort of an upsetting performance, when they decided to attack, that's when they were the most dangerous. Germany, Germany was going to concede. Now, that's something I feel like they should have accepted. They didn't have a clean sheet throughout the whole tournament, but it was time for Germany to get a new manager. See, Germany, and I like how they did it. Germany was not going to fire Joachim Löw. He won a World Cup, sort of brought Germany back to glory. You can't fire him. You can't. So it's best that he retires or resigns after a huge tournament where Germany's not expecting to win. I don't think German fans are expected to win the tournament. If they win, good. If they lose, cool too. And it is better they don't fire him on a cold winter night in December after they lose to the United States for the 3rd time in 2 years. Because I don't care who's the manager. Flick, Pep Guardiola, Sir Alex Ferguson. No one's going to change a German team like that. And it takes times and years to build stuff up like that again. And that's what happens with some clubs who fall from glory. They just get too deep, and it takes years to dig them out of a bad place. And international football is probably a lot worse, because it would be 10 to 15 years, because the group of players is going to be the same group of players. But anyways, Germany will be back. I'll be back. Germany will be back. Because I think Kai Havertz figured out how to play football again. Also, Leroy Sané and Serge Gnabry are going to figure out how to play football again. And Gretzka, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is just fine. And Kimmich is going to be just fine. And they have Kroos and Gundogan. Kroos is older, but they'll be fine without Kroos. They still have Rudiger at the back. I forget who was the other center back. His face is in my mind, but I can't remember his name. He will get some experience. They get Sul, who plays for Bayern Munich. But Germany's going to be fine. I'm not worried about Germany. England, on the other hand, I'm a little worried about. And it's not for the reason why you think. Not because they're going to upset anybody. Well, somewhat upset. That's sort of the reason why I'm nervous. Congrats. Congrats, England, though, for winning a big game. This was your Columbia. Congratulations. But with you winning and beating Germany, and with Sweden losing to Ukraine, even though you were going to be favored no matter who won, but Ukraine is not much, but a slightly easier task, I think, than Sweden. And this is a golden... Nah, it's not a golden. It's not. It's a diamond. Platinum. Diamonds, pearls, and rubies, oh my, opportunity to win Euros. Because I think the best team in the bracket on their side of the bracket is Denmark. And if you're playing Denmark in the semifinals in London, you can't lose. You can't. In the finals, oh man, you could be playing a horrible Belgium. You could potentially be playing a horrible Belgium. I'm pulling for you, England. I'm pulling for you. Because I know for a fact if England loses, oh my goodness, they're going to get so much stuff. Oh, it was a home game, ain't it? It'll be much better. As long as they make the finals, I think England will be fine. But if they lose to Denmark or lose to Ukraine, I'm going to be a little nervous. A little nervous. I mean, nervous. I'm pulling for you, England. I'm pulling for you. Hopefully, you guys can beat Ukraine and Czech Republic or Denmark. Predictions. On to prediction of the Euros, because I gave you analysis. Last week I did analysis and predictions, but now we're going to have another slot for predictions. I'm not going to talk about the NBA because I have no clue what's going to happen in the NBA. So I'm not going to give any predictions on the NBA conference finals. As I said, I will know who wins the series by halftime. Yeah. I will know who win the West Conference Finals halftime of Game 6, and I have no clue for the Milwaukee Hawks series. Alright? But predictions. I feel like to make this podcast more, I guess, energetic and more friendly family friendly to the general audience. Just took a swig of agua right there. And more catchy and better and more family friendly. I believe we need a catchy tune. Right? Predictions, catchy tune. Help everybody. Everyone more likable, more viewable, more listenable. Catch. Snap your fingers. You can do it all by yourself. Dun, 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 dun. You know. But this is a Peng Sports Podcast, baby. And it is not happening. I'm not going to fluff you. I'm not going to put a lot of icing on the cake. This is just me, Kamal Daniels, trying to talk to the people. I don't need a catchy ringtone. Alright? Okay? But predictions. England versus Ukraine. Another 2-0 victory for England. Hopefully. I really, really hope. I really hope England. Now, to the teams that they would potentially play. Denmark versus Czech Republic. I got Denmark. Outside of Spain, they are the second most fun team to watch. Italy's in there, but I believe it's Spain, Denmark, Italy. I think they also have the most fun. Those are the best teams to be on. When you are good, but you sort of, I won't say suck at the same time, but no one has confidence in you, and you sort of just go out and play. You have confidence that you're going to win, but you're sort of like, you don't know, this is a toss-up game. Every game's a toss-up, so you just go out, let's just have fun. Best teams to watch, best teams to be on. Belgium, Italy. Now this is a tough pick. The toughest pick of all of them. I got Italy. Yes, Belgium are my favorite. I want Belgium to win. Lukaku to win. I think Italy got their jitters out against Austria. Congratulations to Austria. I want to say that. Austria, Ukraine, Sweden. Thank you for coming to play. As a fan of the game, I appreciate it. And yes, Austria, you lost. Yes, Sweden, you lost. But I appreciate you coming out to play. Not everyone did that. But anyways, I think they got all the jitters out against Austria. I also like a team that looks happy when they score. When the manager's happy. I like that. England, Gareth Southgate. I'm going to be honest. I was not sort of pulling for England. Now I'm pulling for him, but I wasn't pulling for England at first. Against Germany, I sort of wanted Germany to win because Son is my favorite player. Gnabry's one of my favorite players. But pulling for England now. Anyways. Is it just me or is it Italy and England? Those two teams, I don't speak Portuguese, and more people speak English on Italy. I say I don't speak Portuguese because I should not try to say that with the accent. Portuguese because they say Brazil's the most scrutinized or has the most pressure on it. But in Europe, it's definitely, and from what I hear, it's England and Italy. But they just get creamed by their supporters. If they win, they love them. But if they lose or look not great, a little pressure. And when I see that, when I see them score, and they just celebrate the way they do, and the way they play after their score, it's night and day. Outside of the Muller chance, England totally dominated that game after Raheem Sterling goal. Totally dominated that game. Italy. As soon as they score, oh my goodness, a weight lifted. Chiesa, who's very fluent in English, I might add. Just spectacular. They look like, Italy looked like you had Insigne hitting the post. You had them score another goal. They just look so relieved and so happy. They look like they can fly. That's the amount of pressure that just releases from them. They look like they can fly when they're celebrating. They look like they can literally just start flying out the stadiums. If anyone is looking at me right now, I'm doing bird signs. But anyways, the most pressured teams in the tournament, Italy, England, literally just look so relieved when they score and happy. Maybe not when they scored 2-1 down, but... And that's sometimes with teams, they're so bundled up not to make a mistake. It just takes that one instance. Maybe like with France, when Luis saved the free kick, they just went ballistic. Right? Finally, the last pick, the last choice, Spain, Switzerland. And my new favorite, since Belgium is going to lose to Italy, Spain. Spain, my favorites. I'm pulling for England. Know that. I'm pulling for England until the final. I'm only pulling... it doesn't matter what I'm pulling. I'm pulling for England. So, with that, Spain and Italy will be playing in the quarterfinals. I have to do this because... they play next Tuesday, and the Peng Sports Podcast is only on Wednesdays and never ever going to change. All right, we never did an episode on Thursday. All right, it's always on Wednesday. I got Spain beating Italy and going to the final. Now, you all know this is putting me in a uncomfortable. I'm saying uncomfortable like that because people say uncomfortable wrong. I'm serious. People say uncomfortable. What is uncomfortable? That's not a word. Or they put too much into it. Uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Simple, easy. Guys, we got to get better at English. Just saying. Unless we want to speak Spanish. I'm cool with speaking Spanish. But anyways, this is unfair because you guys know dang well Italy can lose to Belgium and Spain can lose to Switzerland. And it's not fair for me to choose. You know? It's just not fair. And as I said earlier, this is probably the most unpredictable NBA playoffs in a long, long time. Ever. In my lifetime, at least. Well, this Euros is a little unpredictable too, so I blame you all, and I blame the schedule. I blame everyone except me if I have choose these picks wrong. Alright? It's your fault, not mine. Know that. Now we have come to the end. Now we have come to the end. There goes a jingle. Huh? Huh? You're welcome. I expect like 20 more views because I put a jingle in the podcast. But thank you for listening to the Peng Sports Podcast with Kamal Daniels. I'm Kamal Daniels. It is Kamal Daniels. I am him. He is me. Yes. I beg of you to please have a good week. Finish it out as strong as you possibly can. I know. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. But I beg of you, please try to finish out the week strong. Thank you again for listening to the Peng Sports Podcast. It is Kamal Daniels, and yes, we only talked about Euros and basketball, and that's how I like it. Again, thank you. Tune in next week for another episode of the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 19. All right, thank you. See ya.